Making sure. Yes, no, it's a. It kind of stalled on me for a second. Let's do the 8-second anyway. Film Don't Lie is a professional organization as we launch into here. Hey, it's fall camp editions of Film Don't Lie as we build up to Georgia versus Clemson. This episode is centered around Carson Beck, what he did in 2023, how he grew, and that's words that he had, Brent, at SEC Media Days about how much he grew from game one to the end of the season. So this is all Carson Beck kind of chronicling his season, his ability, his decision-making, all of those things through last season. Film Don't Lie is brought to you by ASW Distillery, Oconee Gold Barbecue, and Breda Pest Management. Brent, Carson Beck, when you look back at 2023, overall first observations as we kick off this discussion.
I mean, it's just someone who you hear the phrase grew right before your eyes a lot. It's real in this scenario because there was the governor, both play calling wise, as well as his own decision making in play, was on in the first 4 games. That was, let's get comfortable, let's get confident, and then, all right, now we go play the game as we want to play it, starting at Auburn. But think about the situation that Georgia's in this year. Like, even when Stetson was coming back after winning the national championship, it wasn't like it was looked around college football as we have the best returning quarterback. And that fueled Stetson into a phenomenal 2022. But
because to that point, we mainly saw a really solid second half of the national championship. And man, there were detractors before that, and maybe even a little bit after. But his shining moment was just on the biggest stage. It was a bit of a rocky road to get there. Different with Beck heading into this season.
Yeah, you're talking about the QB who has, of all FBS quarterbacks, #1 passing grade among returners. #1 in ball placement accuracy, #1 in yards, #1 in completion percentage. So you have statistically and draft pundits, things of that nature, the best returning quarterback in college football. That's a world that Georgia hasn't existed in likely quite a while. So this is one where we're going to show the sort of ebbs and flows, I think, and not necessarily the throws that people remember the most, but just the ebbs and flows of his play through the season, but also what you want to see more of in 2024. And it's maybe some things that you don't even really think about. But anyway, let's go.
That's a good caveat of this is not his highlight reel, the best things that he did all season. You're going to see some things in here not quite as great. Our goal was, let's pick some plays from pretty much every game that Georgia had, or at least most every section on the schedule, that just kind of represent the Carson Beck experience in 2023. The really good, which there's a lot of, the things that need to improve, just kind of the snapshot of Carson Beck. And it begins with his first start against UT Martin.
Rushing. He was just rushing. And you could, in everything that he did in this game, like here he's holding on the ball long, but also but his drop is so fast. You're not ready to throw the ball. It's an extra count. There's a breath. There's a sort of fluidity, I guess, that he was just in a hurry for everything. There was a pass in this game. I'm pretty sure it was this game that he threw it behind Lovett, and there's some miscommunications with that. Lovett catches it, he scores. It wasn't in sync yet. He wasn't, and I want to say he talked about it a little bit after the game, but the key is still played really well. Still didn't put the ball in, other than this throw, in true harm's way for the majority of those first 4 games.
Yeah. And I think the timing was here. It was the nerves. He was better in other parts of this game, but this stood out to me too, because just some really poor blocking effort here. And I have a worry for Georgia in 2024. Your best blockers on this team at your skill positions are gone from last year. So who emerges? That's the biggest question I have with Georgia's offense.
Yeah.
Because when Carson Beck, one of the things I saw in going through this, like any quarterback, when he is pressured, you really see his efficiency and his explosiveness decline.
And the key there is you don't want it to have a precipitous decline, because on average across all of football, you're dropping passer rating like 30 to 40 points when you're pressured versus when you're not.
Yeah.
And he was one of the best at a clean pocket. His passing grade under pressure, I think, was in the upper 50s. You want to get that to where you're in the mid to upper 60s at minimum in terms of passing grade. And he did it here. And what's interesting, you think about the start of the season, they went and did, barely scored. I want to say they didn't score I can't remember exactly, but I don't think they scored in the first quarter against Ball State, or maybe it was really late in the first quarter. It wasn't until everything, the avalanche in the second quarter against Ball State, when it was finally like, okay, now let's go do some things. And this was one I think that got him rolling, where all right, you handle pressure right in your face and make the key here is the anticipation type throw. This is one where it was, again, ebbs and flows up and down with some of these anticipation type throws. Great job.
Yeah, and we didn't see a whole lot of off-platform stuff or back foot stuff from Carson Beck, and we know he has the baseball background. You just didn't have to see it a lot because the pocket was clean most of the season. Yep. So I enjoyed going back and seeing some of this there, and I almost hope that you see more of this because when I watch NFL, man, it's not clean pockets. You change your arm angles, do some funny stuff. Like
if you're a draft evaluator, if you're the Daniel Jeremiahs of the world, you definitely want to see more of this. You want to see more plays where he has to make those type of throws. And we think about this Ball State game. I think he ended up with an 84.6 passing grade, which was 5th best on the season. A lot of good moments in this game. I was trying to think. There was another throw to Rosemary Jackson in this game, one more to Lovett, and then one more about the show. It was really, really good.
You had mentioned last week about Georgia missing Rosemary Jackson. Watching a lot of this tape reminded me of that from him as a receiver. Even I always think of a blocker, but
yeah,
he was a safety net for Carson.
Mr. Reliable.
This was a dime. Yeah,
this is where when you think, and I said this earlier in the offseason, and I'll continually say it. I think as the season progresses, he's the best in structure quarterback, where it's pre-snap, seeing what's going on, post-snap, if things happen as they are supposed to, in rhythm, boom, boom, set, throw, look off the eyes, make this perfect throw to Cash in the end zone here. One of his two big time throws in this game.
The thing that I liked, so this is 31-0 against Ball State. The energy's out of the stadium. Like it's kind of let's get to the end of this thing, but it's still early in the season. So you get the over the shoulder catch. Check out this celebration, and then Arian coming over the top to continue. Whoop. Like, to me, those are little things to show these guys are having fun. And I always think that's an indicator of a team that is in sync. And I think you could see Georgia's offense growing in that way. That's big for Carson Beck because he's not a vocal leader in that way.
Yeah, and having these first 4 games last year at home were humongous before you had to go to Auburn, because there were struggles early against South Carolina, especially in the first half, and especially when you had pressure and things weren't clean. And you have to get rid of it off schedule. And this was one where, like, you just look at the totality of the season. 56.1 passing grade under pressure. Now, he did have 5 touchdowns, no picks against that, but 5 turnover-worthy plays. So some other plays that maybe could have been interceptions or fumbles, things like that didn't necessarily happen. But, yeah, there were struggles early in this game. It wasn't until he hit rah-rah that early in the third quarter on the deep post, that's when it got rolling.
You have a new center. Van Pran's gone. You see him actually struggle a little bit on this play. But you have a returning left tackle who has much more experience than he did going into last season. And I don't think, that probably should have been a hold as well on Ernest Green. But at minimum, Carson Beck didn't throw an interception here when he had pressure in his face. So,
and he was already, think about that when you got Green returning, Rattlers returning, Fairchild returning, Michael Morris returning, Truss returning. Like, when you have that in front of you and the combination of the use of quick game and play action that Georgia does as they've evolved from Monken to Bobo, if he's pressured more than 20% of his dropbacks, that means you've not played as well as you should have.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some issues there. So him being able to play in structure, in rhythm, should be the norm for the most part.
When you watched the rest of that South Carolina game, did you identify any reasons why Georgia's offense struggled other than it just happens sometimes in the SEC?
That, and also I think it's the rhythm of the game. And you also look at the pass to Rah more than anything. I think the average depth of target in that game was like 6 yards. And, when you don't stretch the field and don't present a threat to stretch the field, it allows defenses to hone in on you. And the pass Rah, it just opened up the entirety of the game. And then from there, it looked like a normal offense.
Had UAB following that?
A few misses, but also some amazing throws in the UAB game. But
I love getting Arian involved, and this is put in the perfect spot.
And this skill set is so underrated. This is turning a double play. This is Orlando Arcia who boom fielding it and just quick turn to the double play from short to second. The quickness of his release is second to none. And it's a weapon for the offense because of how you can run quick game before defenders can do things. And like you watched, for comparison on Georgia's roster, when Gunnar Stockton played and tried to do these things, the time of release is just nowhere near as what his is.
That's the thing that the NFL covets the most, right? Is his quick release.
The size and pocket, arm strength, and quick release you're just going to see that mentioned by the draft guys over and over and over again.
And I think important to mention, Georgia needs Arian Smith to be healthy and have a good season. He's been healthy now for a while after injury-riddled beginning to his Georgia career. Mm-hmm. This guy is one of the featured receivers at Georgia now. Like, now or never for him. Like, quite literally, because I think he's pretty much out of time. But the depth at receiver at Georgia, I said this about tight end last week, but the experience depth at receiver at Georgia, it could get in a wonky way pretty quickly.
Now that you're down one,
that
you thought that you kind of thought was going to be there, but it's now not with Thomas being removed from the team.
There is some.
Now you're one injury away, even 2 injuries away from an ankle here, ankle there, from being okay.
There's some experience in the transfers that came in. Jackson and Humphreys, they played a lot of football. I just don't know that it's quite ready.
And Colby Young.
Colby Young, I think, is probably closer to being, and he just versatility, right? His size is something that Georgia hasn't had in a while. So, but
I think you're definitely right that Arian is going to be counted on as a true receiver, not just run deep and go try to catch deep balls.
And he has a chance to make some money because that 40 time in itself will get him drafted. So what does he do otherwise on his tape and his interviews?
Yep, very much so.
South Carolina game was a struggle, so too was Auburn.
And again, it's just misses. Now, back earlier in the offseason, I actually looked and wrote let's see the date, February 27th. I spent like a week and a half and looked at every deep throw, every 20-plus yard throw that he made. And after looking at it, he was about 58% in terms of what I would like if you're just grading on a plus minus. And by the way, that's decision-making as well as the execution piece. Because this year is the perfect decision. This is just an execution issue. And and you think, okay, well, maybe the tight end should have done this. How did they practice it? There's so many variables that we talk about. We oftentimes like a missed Arian, I think it was against maybe UAB. But landmarks and our receivers hitting landmarks where quarterbacks expect them to be, all that. But anyway, no matter what, it was off.
Yeah.
This was a misplay that should have been executed.
We don't know if Delp was going where he was supposed to be. All we know is that he was open and the completion didn't happen.
That's a miss. That's a minus. And this is one where you look at the quarterbacks that were drafted and then drafted high. He was at the bottom of all those lists, and even the J.J. McCarthy's of the world, So Bo Nix even better numbers on him on the deep ball. So this is a big area for him to take that step. And he improved, I think, as the season went on in certain spots. And we're going to show one later. This is the absolute probably one of the better throws he made all season. But when you start pushing the ball 20 plus yards down the field, the NFL wants to see you at least give receivers chances.
clean pocket, so that wasn't an issue here at all.
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
you see all the wide open space back here on the field. And, okay, Dayne, you get in here and you kind of let this guy come around, but this is all well done and after. So that wasn't a factor here.
Nope.
I keep thinking about blocking with skill guys. What's going to help Carson Beck even reach a different level? This was fine, and he'll get this.
Totality of that, look at it. 58% were sort of a plus, where he did exactly what he should have done, made a good throw, good decision, things like that. 37% minus, and 5%, like three or four of them were just non-QB issues. You can't really put anything on him.
This is the formation you love, isn't it?
Oh, pistol. Well, diamond formation actually too.
Well, yeah. On the run, across the body.
NFL evaluators want to see more of this.
This was gorgeous to me.
This is, they want to see more of it. They want to see more of it. And somebody's probably in the chat that knows exactly what throw I'm talking about, but there's a throw, and I thought it was an Auburn game, but I must have missed it when on rewatch, but where he's sliding to the left and kind of sidearms it over the middle of the field, like things like that, things that we pointed out earlier against Ball State. That's what NFL evaluators want to see. They know he can play in rhythm, in a clean pocket, and be insanely accurate. It's, can you be a playmaker? Because that league, and by the way, it's also, now that you go a 12-team playoff, at that point, you're playing in the semis after people have played a couple, their extra games. There might be people that are hurt, and if you use the QB on the field, it might come down to just you making plays in a muddy pocket or on a broken type play.
Well, and extra context to this, if you remember the first month of the season, we saw Carson Beck running more than any of us had expectations that he would. Ran for multiple touchdowns.
Yeah.
And now he wasn't, let me break the pocket, be a scrambler guy. But by this point, I think teams had to respect he's a good enough athlete to go get yards if you leave it open here. And so Georgia could move the pocket a little bit. What I loved is his patience here of not trying to, get 3 yards to set up a 3rd and 4. Short side of the field, Bowers is going to take some attention there. Keep your eyes down the field, make a throw, be confident. Like that, in a game that Georgia did not play very well, this shows a ton of confidence in himself at this point.
And he was big time in the second half. And they were down most of this game. Some of the throws to Bowers, throw to Rosemary Jackson on a cover 2 hole throw, like just some 89.3 passing grade that he finished with against Auburn.
And when he went down to home to Jacksonville, Georgia was rolling by this point.
And this is where, like, you hear me talk all the time, but he's just an absolute intermediate of the field, 15 to 25 yard assassin. And play action, allowing routes to develop. And by the way, that guy's back. I think he's going to get the lion's share of the targets, at least initially.
I remember thinking,
Georgia's offense.
I remember thinking, do you think that he got chewed out a little bit for just the sidestep out of bounds here, not being interested in because he could have probably had an extra 2 or 3?
Nah,
but
he's fine.
I mean,
no issues.
It's a big play.
Yes, it's a huge play. And that's those throws, the in rhythm 30, 35, sometimes even 40, because we're going to look at one lad that's 40, that he's putting on a rope. Like, that's a skill level that not many have. Like, other past Georgia quarterbacks that even have been on this podcast would have loved to have been able to throw that ball 40 yards on a rope like that kind of thing. And that's what the league is. The league is being able to attack the middle of the field. And that's where NFL evaluators are going to see all the throws that he makes to the middle of the field and be like, okay, I'm taking this guy. I'm running play action. I'm running some version of the McVay Shanahan offense, and he's going to be awesome for me.
When you see throws like this, to me, it just says this guy's pro floor is pretty darn high. And what I mean by that is, even if he wasn't an NFL superstar that you build your team around, which he might totally be that, man, he would be a backup / someone that plays on teams that have injuries for probably the next 10 years if he can do this.
Oh yeah, but I think he's at minimum a competent starter.
Yeah, and I agree. Let me be clear about this. after seeing Joe Flacco come in and still be able to make a lot of the throws, I'm saying that the worst case for this guy's career is play for a long time in the NFL and be able to plug into pretty much any NFL system because he can do this.
Yep, I agree.
Missouri. This game was closer than people remember. I think we've talked a lot about Auburn and South Carolina, maybe even a little bit of Georgia Tech. Missouri came into Athens, and this gave Georgia a run for its money.
And he had actually, I think Missouri ended up being one of his lower passing grades of the season because
of pressure in a lot of ways. I think
pressure, and then also Abrams Drain, Rakestraw, like they had good corners. They played a lot of man. They forced you to up your anticipation, speed up your clock, things like that. And again,
and Missouri's offensive strategy is let's limit your offensive possessions.
Yep.
So they were running the ball, happy to get 4 and 5 a carry when they could. It was Georgia had to be a little bit more consistent in this game, and it took a while to outlast Missouri, but it did.
I've always wondered how annoying that sun is like that. Just to see it on field level where you got half the field that's shaded and then you got the sun just glaring right in your eyes for those 3:30 games.
Can't be great.
It can't be a good thing.
Later in the game against Missouri, because it all didn't look like that.
And this is, again, the off-rip stuff. And it doesn't have to be basically what Caleb Williams kind of does, which is run around and sling it sidearm 35, 40 yards down the field on a dime. Like, it doesn't have to be that. Just do this.
Well, and we have talked about on Film Don't Lie that Trevor Etienne's pass blocking, not great. This stuff, fantastic from Florida.
Yeah. And what the beautiful part when evaluators are going to watch Beck is, to me, he does all the things that the quarterback coaches across the country, like that they drill you to death from a footwork perspective and how you break the pocket, how you move in the pocket and keep the ball inside when you slide, how your feet move, like what the footwork here, boom. And then, all right, I feel pressure, slide the other way. I'm not sliding into the rush. I'm going sort of horizontally here because I know stuff's right in my face. Like, just that stuff, he's, to me, next level. And when you can do that and also get to where he can combine that footwork with getting back to a base to be the accurate player that he is, that's next level. That's now you're going to start talking number one pick stuff, or they're going to see throws like this that is 40-something yards in the air on an absolute rope.
Seeing it from this angle too, it's just like, my Lord.
And again, these are throws, and what it does, and even that little play action fake allows timing, allows speed to get down the field. This is the part of offenses where if you're an offensive coordinator and you have this in your bag, it opens up everything for you.
Stuff like this is why you see Georgia attack other people's nickel or star or whatever, because if you have a receiver, they can get angles. And I'm not even sure that that's what's happening. But if Carson Beck can make these throws against someone that's not quite as good in coverage, it just opens up the field, makes it feel like there's more room to cover if you're the defense.
Yep. This is one where, like, throws like that, you're going to see consistently on the tape, and evaluators are going to talk about, all right, not many making this throw. In rhythm, almost, by the way, easy. Like, he's not pushing into that ball at all. He's not gearing up. That's just a flick of the wrist, 40 yards on a rope.
3rd and 5 situation up in Knoxville.
Quickness of release, and also situational understanding.
Throw to that guy. Some of that.
It's always great to be able to throw to 19. But, I mean, that ball almost stuck in Bauer's face mask. Like, some zip on it.
I pause it here to show Beck is in the throwing motion, and the cut is just now beginning. Turn around, it's halfway there.
Boom, it's on his shoulder. He's right there, which, by the way, also shows you how awesome Bowers is.
It does. But, I mean, they practice this a lot at Georgia. And if you can't get this timing down as a tight end, you don't play.
And think about how much of the NFL is this, where it's 3rd and 5, and you're throwing into just the tiniest of windows, and you have to know where to go with the football, and then be able to release it quickly, throw it accurately, and put revolutions on it. he can definitively do that.
I feel like Tony Gonzalez made a career out of this, among other things, because he could do it all.
Many other things, but this, especially in the Falcons years.
Yeah.
I'll say that. Falcons years, Tony Gonzalez.
Georgia Tech.
This is as good as it gets. And I hope we see more of this route from Dom Lovett, the slot fade, smash route, whatever you want to term it. But in rhythm, great protection, puts it
perfect,
like hands it off to him.
This is not even a scan the field. This is get to the line of scrimmage and be like, oh, your safety's there. All right, we're good.
Yeah, and we're going to go attack there and just in rhythm. And this, like I said, he got better at some of these things as the season went on. And
really good protection here for him.
There was a throw in the spring game that he put a lot of air under it. It's in a game, it's picked. But him just doing that and understanding the arc that was needed and that sort of thing. Because oftentimes having the arm strength that he does, he tends to, all right, I can put this on a line, much like the throw to Delt, versus this type of throw where it's like, okay, I'm just going to put it to a spot and let them go run under it and go find it. This is as good as it gets, though.
Check this out. Whoop.
Oh, yes. We definitely highlighted that last year on FDO.
We did, but always good to do it again. Georgia, right, Alabama.
So this play is very specific for a reason that many don't really get. Because if you just watch the play, it's okay. It's a fake jet sweep. We pitch it. You pitch it the other way. 3-yard gain on 1st and 10. This is the part where I think he's going to be infinitely better in 2024 than he was in 2023, because so much of the run game is what? QB choice. And like numbers to me dictated this, like Bell's got to get this ball right here. Like, and
do we know that this is a QB choice here?
Yes, I do. But in terms of, yes, like this is
the timing's off on the fake regardless.
But anyway, when in terms of just so much of what, and you see it with Georgia's run game, where you see a late flip of the back from one side to the other, or a late sort of change to the run game stuff. Like this is Bell one-on-one with safety, if the ball's gone there. But those things where it's not anything to do with throwing the ball or the execution there. Missed a face mask too, I think, right? But anyway, the decision making and the knowledge of the offense and the understanding of defense, I think, will be just at a whole other level this season, to where if you see run game errors or run game struggles, it's an execution issue, not a QB choice issue. Because so much of the run game, especially on early downs, is QB choice driven. Like you think about the reverse play in this game that end up being a fumble. That's a call. Like you're running that play no matter what. Oftentimes, a lot of these things, it's, hey, you're going inside zone here or counter there, or you're going duo here or toss there. You're doing things based upon what the defense gives you. These are some other throws I think you're going to see more of in 2024.
Fourth quarter against Alabama, down 10.
Where it's
laser.
I'm just letting it rip, and I'm going to put it in a window that no one else but me can put it.
Yeah.
I think that level of confidence, because to me, guess who did that? Stetson did that. Stetson, the growth from 21 to 22 for Stetson was immense. 2021 Stetson doesn't even sniff the draft or get signed. 2022 Stetson was a fourth round pick or something like that. Like that growth. Now you're talking about it in this kid's body with the tools that he has. You know, there's reason for the number one pick type talk.
With this example, when we say growth, what we're really meaning is confidence, because this has been there for Carson.
No, the skill set's there. The skill set is definitely there. It's
when
the
Stetson Bennett would let it rip, Stetson Bennett could always let it rip. Go back to like COVID years when he's playing Alabama. Yeah. Like you saw the arm ability there. You also saw that sometimes he put it in spots and threw interceptions.
Yeah.
And so like it came down to decision making and then confidence to do it again, you know, if you screwed up.
Confidence in what you're seeing, confidence in your own ability, and not a reckless confidence.
Yeah.
And that's what's interesting when you think about Caleb Williams and him as the number 1 pick. He did all that stuff and put balls in places where you're just like, what in the world is he doing? Very few turnovers, very few actual turnovers. And his turnover issues are more fumbling because he's running around so much than with his decision making and where he throws the ball. In terms of ultimate, if Carson Beck does these 3 things, Georgia either is winning a national championship or he's the number 1 pick kind of deal. 1, make plays out of structure. 2, the mental side of the game in terms of decision making, getting the offense in the right play. And then 3, it's the confidence piece that we're talking about, because I think he steps up some of those deeper throws, makes better throws there, and the confidence to make those throws, because he already limits turnovers. His turnover-worthy play percentage is already low. He's already very smart with the ball. Now it's take calculated risk and believe in yourself and your receivers and put the ball in places they can go make plays. You do that, you got what statistically is the best quarterback returning in the country, and you got yourself a driver of a national championship contending team, which is what they should be.
To the point about turnover mitigation, I would add, continue to get the ball out of your hands quickly, because 1, you can do that. You're very good at that.
Did it faster than anybody in the Power 5.
Absolutely.
2.35 average time to throw.
But we've both watched a lot of college football. When you have a whole season of everyone telling you that you're the best quarterback in the sport, or you're the hero of this team, or Carson Beck is when the quarterback starts doing the hero ball thing a little bit too much is when you get out of yourself. And so that's all mental and confidence in your teammates. I don't think that's going to be an issue for Georgia. Do exactly what you did on the trajectory last year. Don't be the hero of this team, because if you do the right things, you are going to be the hero of this team.
Yeah. And play his game, because his game isn't, while I'm saying, hey, let's see more of the out of structure things, but it's not his game. His game is winning mentally and being quick with the ball and going quickly into the right places. When it has to occur, go make those plays.
Do you see some, not comps necessarily, but just in the way that they play, some Matthew Stafford in there of like, you can drop the arm angle a little bit if you want to. You have the arm strength, but just go out there and toss it around. You're good at that. Do it quickly.
The comps are going to be interesting for him, because my first thought of comp is like a better armed version of Matt Ryan. But
I've seen some Jared Goffs, and I think he's better than that.
Got better arm strength than him.
Yeah,
and then it's just about growing. But still, like you said, I think that's the floor. I think the floor with him is still very high, and can be a high quality NFL starter. And whether that's the number 1 pick in this draft, I don't know, because there's a lot of defensive talent, but QBs always get pushed up.
There's also a lot of unproven quarterback. There's going to be a couple guys that we don't talk about right now that emerge in draft time throughout the next 5 months.
And what's interesting, one that in the SEC that doesn't get talked about but gets talked about in the draft world is Connor Wegman.
Yeah.
At A&M, and how much what's he going to look like playing, hopefully for them, playing a full season. It's going to be fun, but Georgia's in a good place at that spot. It's also not in a good place if they don't have him on the field. I'll say that too.
We're in a good place because it's August, and so that means that we are quickly approaching Georgia Clemson for Film Don't Lie. And we remind you to support the people who support us. Oconee Gold Barbecue Sauce is our newest sponsor, and they're fantastic, Brent. I've had some people on the board at UGAsports.com with the dog vent ask some questions about some of the product they have, so we're happy to educate on that. But if you are interested in getting a really good discount from Oconee Gold, go to their website, use the promo code Film Don't Lie, get you 20% off of your purchase.
No apostrophe, just straight.
Film Don't Lie.
FILMDONTLIE.
Yep.
See if I
You
can
still know the alphabet. Fantastic. That dry rub, I told you I used a little bit of that last week. I'm excited to just try, I think it's the wing sauce that they have. That's what I'm excited to try next. I may put that on a menu for this week over at the Young household.
So Roddy posted, for those of you that follow Roddy DeBalsi on Twitter, he posted like all the stuff. And then there's some great conversation below that. Go find it. I retweeted it too, but go find that, and talks about mixing certain things and how you, and evidently a lot of folks thoroughly enjoy if you mix a few of them together too. So I haven't done that personally, so I'm going to start trying.
Also, shout out to Breda Pest Management, the official pest control of the Georgia Bulldogs. They protect Sanford Stadium. They can protect your home as well. BredaPest.com. And ASW Distillery. You know, if you go buy the Hunker vodka, a bit of that goes to the Classic City Collective to help with Georgia's NIL efforts. So if you're buying Tito's vodka, you're actually helping the Texas Longhorns, and Georgia plays them this year. So you make that decision. That's your money. That's your wallet. I tend to think if you're watching us, you'd probably rather have the Hunker vodka than the Tito's vodka. ASW Distillery, 5 to 6 founders, graduated from UGA. So they support the dogs. They support us. You can support them as well, just by however you buy your spirits. That's it for Film Don't Lie. I don't know exactly what we're doing next week, but at some point in the next 2 weeks, we got to crank out a Clemson preview.
Yes, we will be doing that.
So that's either next week or the week after. I'll declare that right now.
Okay, I agree. It's just a matter.
Producing
actually,
on the fly.
Actually, it'd probably be next week because the following week class starts for me, so I won't have as much time.
Well, not only that, but we're getting close to North Oconee Titans football too.
Yes, that's
Friday nights are taken.
Going back to football games for me this season, so it'll be fun.
Excited for the Rollins household there. Hey, thanks everybody for watching. Please subscribe to our channel. We're the most popular that covers the Georgia Bulldogs. Check us out, ugasports.com. We will see y'all next week.